The sun was sinking behind the jagged red cliffs when Samuel Crowley, a poor farmer struggling to keep his ranch alive, stumbled upon something he never expected to see in all his years living on the harsh frontier plains. While leading his exhausted mule along a narrow canyon trail, he heard a low groan echoing between the rocks, deep, powerful, and strangely feminine. Samuel's first thought was that a wild animal had been wounded, but when he stepped closer, pushing aside thorny sagebrush, he froze in absolute disbelief. Lying half-conscious against the canyon wall was a woman. No, not just any woman, but a towering, muscular, breathtakingly strong figure easily over 7 feet tall, dressed in tattered ceremonial Apache garments. Her arm was bleeding, her breathing strained, and her ornaments, silver, turquoise, and eagle feathers, marked her as someone important. Samuel had heard stories of the Giant Princess, a legendary warrior, daughter of a distant Apache chief, but he never believed she truly existed until now. And yet here she was, wounded, vulnerable, and watching him through half-open eyes filled with pain and suspicion. Samuel knew he had no business getting involved. His ranch was collapsing under debt, the bank was planning to auction his land, and he could barely feed himself. But he also knew that if he left this woman here, she would die before dawn. Swallowing hard, he whispered, "Easy now, I'm not here to hurt you," and slowly extended his hand. The giant woman tried to rise but collapsed again, her strength fading. Samuel didn't think twice. He lifted her, or tried to. She was heavier than a full feed sack, but adrenaline and fear pushed him to keep going. He dragged her onto the mule, tied her carefully, and guided her home under the rising moon. Every step felt like a war against time. Back at his small barn, he laid her on soft hay, lit a lantern, and cleaned her wounds with trembling hands. The giant princess winced but did not resist. When Samuel wrapped her with his old blanket, she watched him silently, her fierce warrior eyes softening with gratitude. Hours passed. Outside, coyotes howled and dust swirled around the ranch. But inside the barn, a fragile peace grew between two strangers from different worlds. Samuel brought her water, whispered calm words, and fought sleep as he guarded her like an unlikely friend. By dawn, her breathing steadied, and the tension in her broad shoulders eased. But so did Samuel's peace of mind, because in the distance, across the golden plains, he saw dust clouds rising. Riders, many riders, Apache riders. The princess noticed them too and sat up with difficulty. She placed a massive hand on Samuel's shoulder, her voice deep and steady despite her injuries. "Do not fear. You saved me, even when you had nothing to gain." Samuel didn't reply, too overwhelmed and terrified. The riders grew closer, their silhouettes forming a line of warriors armed with spears and rifles. Samuel's heart pounded. He had hidden their princess. Would they kill him for touching her, helping her, or worse, accuse him of harming her? As the thunder of hooves shook the ground, Samuel stepped outside, his hands raised, prepared for whatever fate would come. But he couldn't know that what awaited him next would change his life forever. And if you're enjoying this powerful story, make sure you hit the subscribe button on my channel so you never miss the next chapter of these emotional and thrilling Western tales. Samuel stood frozen as a dozen Apache warriors surrounded his small ranch, their horses snorting, their weapons gleaming under the rising sun. The air crackled with tension, and the poor farmer felt his throat tighten, expecting the worst. But instead of attacking, the warriors parted, forming a respectful path as a massive elder rode forward, broad-shouldered, stern-faced and wearing a headdress of white and black, feathers that shimmered in the morning light. This was the chief, the father of the wounded giant, Princess resting in Samuel's barn. With a deep voice that carried the weight of years and authority, the chief dismounted and approached Samuel. "White farmer," he said, "you sheltered my daughter when she could not protect herself. You mended her wounds. You guarded her through the night. Few men would have done this." Samuel swallowed hard. "I didn't do it for reward. I just couldn't leave her there." The chief nodded, eyes softening. Honor does not ask for reward. Then he lifted his hand, signaling his warriors. They opened the barn doors, revealing the princess now standing tall, steady, and proud, her wounds wrapped neatly in Samuel's old cloth. She looked like a living monument of strength and dignity. When her eyes met her father's, a powerful silence filled the ranch. She stepped forward and spoke in her deep, resonant voice. "Father, this man saved me. He carried me when my legs failed. He gave me safety when death followed me. He is no enemy." The chief studied Samuel again, this time with deep respect. Then he turned to his warriors and ordered in Apache tongue. Moments later they returned carrying large leather sacks, wooden chests and bundles tied with ropes. They placed them at Samuel's feet, and when he looked inside, his breath vanished. Money, silver, trade, goods, supplies, enough to feed 10 ranches, enough to rebuild everything he had ever lost, enough to pay off all his debts 100 times over. Samuel staggered back, stunned. I can't take this." The chief placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "You already earned it." Then he gestured toward the horizon where a banker's wagon approached slowly, dust rising behind it. "I sent for the man who chained your land with debt. Today his chains break." Samuel watched as the banker arrived, confused and pale at the sight of armed warriors. The chief stepped forward and threw a heavy sack of silver onto the ground. "His debts are paid. His land is free." The banker scratched his head, counted the silver with shaking hands, then nodded rapidly. Yes, of course. All paid, completely. His ranch is clear." And just like that, years of Samuel's suffering evaporated. The weight he carried in his heart dissolved into disbelief. Tears welled in his eyes. The giant princess walked up to him then, placing her hand gently on his shoulder, so large it nearly swallowed it. "Do not forget your courage," she said softly. "You saved a warrior of my people. That honor will be remembered for generations." As the Apache warriors mounted their horses and prepared to leave, the chief turned back one last time. "If ever danger comes to your land, call for us. The man who saved my daughter will never stand alone." Samuel watched them disappear into the golden plains, the morning sun lighting their path like a blessing. When silence finally returned, he sank to his knees, overwhelmed by gratitude, relief, and awe. His ranch was saved, his life was changed, and he had gained a bond stronger than blood. If you want more emotional, thrilling, and powerful Western stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to my channel right now. Your support helps bring these incredible tales to life every week.